Hey, so is this recording? Yeah, I think it is. Okay, cool. And take that off mute. So where I left off last time was the lab for S3. So let's go ahead and open that back up. I was supposed to work on Alexa tonight, but I don't feel like Alexa. So figured I would go ahead and get some of these labs out of the way. So in the last video you saw where this does not work. This link does not take you right into this particular lab. So you have to do a search for it. And you just do a simple storage and it shows up. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started on this lab. Click there. So it has instructions. Says simple storage is an object storage service that offers industry-leading scalability, data availability, security, and performance. So object storage basically means anything. I can't think of anything that it would not mean, cannot mean. I mean, it can mean text files, like I use it for hosting web pages. It could mean audio files. I've used it for WAV files and MP3 files. It can mean MP4 files. It can mean video files. I'm sure there's a plenty of other files I haven't thought of, but basically any kind of object that you need to be stored somewhere, and especially if it's a larger size object like some of those WAV files, this is an ideal place to secure it. GitHub, does have limitations on how much, well, the free version anyways has limitations on how big of an object you can store in there, but S3 does not. So customers of all sizes and industries can use it to store and protect any amount of data for a range of use cases, such as websites, mobile apps, backup and restore, archive, enterprise applications, IoT devices, and big data analytics. S3 provides easy-to-use management features so you can organize your data and configure finely tuned access controls to meet your specs, your specific business, organizational, and compliance requirements. So S3 is designed for 11 nines. So whenever you hear the terminology 11 nines, this means like 99 and then all of those nines. Of durability and stores data for millions of applications for companies all around the world. So we can visit S3 to learn more about it, but we're not going to do that. So to start the lab, we click Start Lab. And this will start the process of provisioning your lab resources. An estimated amount of time for provisioning your lab. So there it is. Open your lab by clicking Open Console. Okay, so provisioning looks like. Okay. Wait for it to finish provisioning. I'll go ahead and pause this. Okay, so we click Open Console. And I was looking at some grant stuff earlier, so let's go ahead and close that out. Okay. So I was in my other AWS account, so I need to get into the correct one. And I'm going to log out of this. This is probably not something you need to do. I'm doing it because I was logged into my personal AWS account. So this is probably not something you need to do. If you do have another AWS account, then maybe this might be something you do have to do. So, yeah. Okay, AWS console. Okay, so now I'm here. Let's try this. I'm not sure what's wanting from me. You must first log out before logging into a different, okay. Okay, so let's just log out instead of logging in. And this, people, is how I teach. Don't always try it beforehand. Try this again, open console. And it works. So the lesson learned there is just log out, don't log in into anything. Okay, so please do not change. Okay, we're not changing the regions. Okay, and that's kind of what I ran into. That's what I ran into. So read instructions, people. Create a bucket. So first thing we're going to do is create a bucket. I'm going to move this over here. Try to anyways. I'm trying to. Pause this while I try to. Okay, I got it moved over. So we're going to go to every object is S3 stored in a bucket. So let's go ahead and do a search for S3. Okay, so we're going to create a bucket. Now yours should say something like this as a user, AWS student, yada, yada, yada. So we're going to do create a bucket. And it's got to be a DNS compliant name. And it'll tell you if you start doing something that's not DNS compliant. So we're going to name this my bucket. Number, and we're going to do a run number. It's a random number. I'm going to do 12. So where it says my bucket number, we're going to replace number with a random number. So I got my bucket 12. And it gives you some information on the details on what a bucket name can and cannot be. So we're going to leave region in Oregon. Selecting a particular region allows you to optimize latency, minimize costs, or address regulatory requirements. So objects stored in a region never leave the region unless you explicitly transfer them to another region. So the thing to keep in mind in regards to regions, not all regions are made the same, so to speak. Some regions may have different kind of resources than others. So if you're trying to use, or different service than others. So if you're trying to use a certain kind of AWS service, and you see something that pops up saying not available in this service in this region, just choose another region. Virginia, I'm on the East Coast, so my usually go to is Virginia. But Virginia, I think, has pretty much all the AWS services that are available. I know Ohio used to be limited, and I live in Ohio. I don't know if it's still limited or not. Haven't really come across any issues as of late. But just be aware if you do come across anything, as new availability zones and regions are being created, just be aware if something doesn't work for your particular region, you see that little error, don't think it's you. It's probably just that service is not available in that region, and just to choose another region that's closest to you or closest to your end user base. So choose next, So where am I at? Maybe that might be my head. Copy settings. No, we're not doing that. Lost my spot. Okay, the copy settings from an existing option can be used to make it easier to create a bucket that uses the same settings as another bucket. We're not going to use that for this lab. Create next. It already exists, so let's just add another 0 on it. There we go. On the configure option screen, which is where we're at right now, make note of the available options. So we got versioning, server access log, object level logging, default encryption. Choose learn more. So I'm not going to go through all of this. This is something that you guys can do on your own in regards to reading through all of this. Basically, versioning is like you can, if you made changes to one thing and you want to go back to the thing it was before, you can do that. Versioning enables you to keep multiple versions of an object in one bucket. So again, I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole. I just want to kind of give you the layout of the land that we have here. Server access logging. Server access logging provides detailed records for the requests that are made to a bucket. Server access logs are useful for many applications. For example, access log information can be useful in security and access audits. It can also help you learn about your customer base and understand your S3 bill. So it gives you instructions on how to do that. Again, we're not going down that rabbit hole. Tags. To track the storage costs or other criteria for individual projects or groups of projects, we can label our S3 bucket using cost allocation tags. A cost allocation tag is a key value pair that you associate with an S3 bucket. So after you activate cost allocation tags, AWS uses the tags to organize your resource costs on your cost allocation report. So basically, this key value pair can be generated and created, and it's used like a table. So like you have a name, your key is going to be your name, and server Pittsburgh, I don't know, can be the name, could be the value of it. So not going down that rabbit hole again. Object level logging. So you can view, filter, and download the most recent 90 days of your account activity for all management events. So you can set up a trial that delivers a single copy of management events in each region free of charge. So once it's set up, S3 charges apply based on your usage. You'll be charged for any data events or additional copies of management events recorded in the region. But it looks like CloudTel is one of the free services that are offered within AWS. The things that you use with it, such as S3, have cost, but this CloudTel in particular is free. Default encryption. So protecting data using encryption. Data protection refers to protecting data while in transit, such as traveling to and from S3 and at rest while it's stored at the disk on the S3 data centers. You can protect data in transit using secure sockets layer, SSL, or client-side encryption. So we have the following options: server-side encryption and client-side encryption. So that's how data is protected. We're not going down that rabbit hole for this video. Let's see. Choose next. And when I talk about going down a rabbit hole, it's easy just to kind of, if you're learning something and you don't understand this, that you keep diving until you get further into that understanding. And it's easy to do, but what we kind of want to do is just stay on track for our purpose. And our purpose is this S3 lab. We don't need to necessarily know that much about versioning or object level control or the logging and things of that nature. We're going to learn about S3. Now, some of those components are related to S3, but we're not going to go necessarily down that rabbit hole. So let's see. So we're going to learn about the block public access settings. So let's go ahead and open that up. So S3 block public access prevents the application of any settings that allow public access to data within S3 buckets. So we can configure block public access settings for an individual S3 bucket or for all the buckets in your account. So it gives them information on that, but we're going to leave that alone. So let's see where I'm at. It says by default, new S3 buckets and the objects within them are not publicly accessible, which is indicated right here, block all public access. You must specifically enable public access, and you can do so on the screen when creating a new bucket. So on the set permissions screen, which is where we're at right now, keep the default options, which we have, and then click next. Then we're going to reveal all of that. All that's good for what we need. So create bucket. So we have a bucket. We'll go ahead and minimize that. So we have a bucket named My Bucket 120, which is what I just created. You can see it accesses bucket and objects are not public. The region is in Oregon, and it was created just now. So we're going to upload an object to the bucket. Now that we have a bucket, we can ready to store objects. An object can be any kind of file, a text file, photo, video, zip file, and so on. So we can add an object to S3. You have the option of including metadata with the object and setting permissions to control access to the object. So right click on the link below and download it. Just want to save the link. I don't want to save the link. I want to save the picture. So let's do it this way. Right click, save image. Okay. And we're going to choose in the S3 console. This is the S3 console. Choose the bucket that starts with the name My Bucket. So that's the one we just created. Click on that. Click upload. And you can do this multiple ways. We'll do this the longer way, but you can just drag a file in there. But I'm going to do this the longer way in case you don't see the file to drag. So add files. And then find the file sheet. And then what's it want me to do? Upload. So on the bottom, well, it's already done, but you can see how it will show you if something's in progress, once success, and any of errors. So we see it on our page. Instructions say if you don't see it, to go ahead and hit refresh, but I already see it on mine. So now we're going to make it public. So making it public basically means that anybody can see it. So I'm going to show you what it looks like right now. So we're going to click on this. And this is the URL that's generated, from us uploading this file and creating this bucket and uploading this file. So you can see it's got HTTPS, it's got My Bucket 120, which is the name of the bucket. S3 is the S3 service. US West 2 is the region. AmazonAWS.com is for AmazonAWS.com. And sheep.png is the name of the file. So let's go ahead and click on that. And I'm going to show you what it does. You get that. You get an error message saying access denied. That's because it's not public. So let's go ahead and take this back. And I'm going to go back into, let's start from the beginning and see where I'm at. Okay. Choose the sheep. Okay. Got that. And the overview opens up. Notice the navigation at the top left of the screen updates with a link to return to the bucket overview page. I think they're talking about right here. I think they're talking about right here. I'm not sure what they're talking about on the top left. Okay, I'm just going to leave that. I'm just going to move on from that. I'm not sure what they're talking about on that. So let's just go ahead and go here. So it's talking about the overview. Copy the object URL, which is right here. And then we can copy it, or you can click on it. So I'm going to click on it. Okay, clicking on it, and it shows you the thing that I showed. So in a new browser tab, I didn't paste it because I couldn't get the stupid thing to copy. But so we got an access denied error. To resolve the access denied error, configure the object to be public accessible. So keeping that browser tab open, we're going to keep this open. We're going to go back into here. Nope. We're going to go back into there. Nope. Oh, I know what it did. It opens up in the same tab. So let's try this again. Right click, open link in new tab. Okay, access denied. There's our console. So we're going to go to permissions. I'm on step 21 here. And under the public access, right here, select everyone. We're going to select read object and choose save. And you can see that everyone will be able to read this object, which basically means to view it. So save. And that's at the top left of the screen. Choose the link with the bucket name you previously created. So my bucket 120. And choose the permissions tab. Block public access. Choose edit. Deselect the block all public access. Then hit save. Yes, we're wanting to confirm. So we got to type it in. So it's been updated successfully. Choose the overview tab. Choose a sheep. Choose the permissions tab. Under public access, click everyone. Read object. Save. Turn to the browser and hit refresh. And we got a sheet. So you can see how it went from nobody could access it to now pretty much everybody can access it. So we're going to close that tab that displays a picture and return to, okay, we're going back to the S3 console. So let's go back to here. So in this example, we granted read access only to one specific object. If we wanted to grant access to an entire bucket, use a bucket policy. So we're going to create a bucket policy. So a bucket policy is a set of permissions associated with an S3 bucket. It can be used to control access to an entire bucket or to specific directories within a bucket. In this task, we're going to upload a new file to the bucket and verify it's not publicly accessible. You then use the AWS policy generator to create a bucket policy that enables public read access. So earlier with the sheet, we just made that one file accessible. But now we're going to create a bucket policy that makes the whole bucket accessible. So right click. So I'm just going to open link in new tab. And maybe that's might not be what I want to do. Try this. Right click. Let's just do it this way. Save as. Okay, it's saved as a text document. That's fine. Get rid of the sheet. In the S3 bucket, choose the name of your bucket. So we're going to create bucket. So file bucket 120. Going to leave everything the same. Next. 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 Create bucket. File a bucket. Upload. Add files. Sample file. Upload. Okay, so we're going to click on that and we're going to copy this link address. I'm on step right here, 43. In a new browser tab. Let's open that up. Right click. Right click. Paste and go. It's not available. Okay, so we already know reason why. It's because, based, of our experience with the sheet, we did not give it any public access yet. It's not accessible to the public. I'm going to go to the tab with S3 Management Console, which is this. Choose the name of your bucket. And choose the name of the bucket. You should see a list of the objects in your bucket, which is just this. Choose the Permissions tab. So bucket policy. And so there's a blank policy editor. So it can be created manually, or this policy generator pretty much does the trick. Let's see if it gives instructions on this. Yeah. Okay. I want to bypass this because this is just not my process of doing it. But I want to go to 51 and then we'll go back into those other steps. So select the type of policy. We're doing S3. We're doing effect is going to allow. The principal is going to be the asterisk, which is an indicator for a wild card. And a wild card means anyone. Like there's no specific parameters. Anybody can access it. So AWS service, we're selecting S3. Actions is get object. And then the get objects action grants permission for objects to be retrieved from the AWS S3. So again, it's just allowing it to be retrieved, such as being seen, or any other thing else that can mean heard or seen or whatever it is that you're trying to do. Okay. Refer. Okay, we're not referring. ARN. So this is where it kind of want to go back to the steps up here because again, this is just not my method of doing it. So it's asking for an ARN, which is an Amazon resource name. So let's go back to S3. So I'm on this S3 tab and you see the ARN right here. It says ARN, AWS, S3. It's got 3 colons, 3 or 4. I think 3. And then the name of the bucket, which is file bucket 120. So that is the Amazon resource name. That's kind of like the unique identifier. So we're going to copy that. And then we're going to paste it in here. And let's see. Go back down to here, I think. Yep. So at the end of the ARN, we're going to append it with, which is basically we're just going to attach something at the end with the /* So you see how I have what this was, the ARN AWS S3 file bucket 120. And I copied that same thing here. And I just, at the end of it, put the /*. And again, that's just indicative of a wildcard. It says Amazon resource name is a standard way to refer to resources within AWS. In this case, ARN is referring to our S3 bucket. Adding the /* to the end of the bucket name allows the policy to apply to all objects within the bucket. So we're going to click Add Statement. It's going to generate this line here. And we're going to choose Generate Policy. And we're going to copy this. And we're going to confirm that this appears, this /, which it should. I don't know why I wouldn't, but at the end. And we're going to copy that. I already copied it. Close the web browser. And return to the tab with the bucket policy editor, which is right here. Paste. And click Choose Save. And it's denied. What'd I do wrong? This is why I didn't close it yet, because I figured I'd do something wrong. Allow ARN, AWS. S3, yeah, oh. I got it. I'll pause this while I figured out what I did wrong. Okay, I'm back. I know what I did wrong. And it wasn't necessarily me, as far as I can tell. I'm following the instructions exactly. But this is actually one of the things that are frustrating about anything in tech. It's just that it doesn't, so you can see me. This is one of the things that's actually very frustrating about anything in tech. It's not just AWS, but AWS is very guilty of it as well. It doesn't always match. Like this is the documentation. As far as I know, I didn't miss any steps. If you see that I missed a step, let me know. But it's being denied. And then if you says, looks here, it says the block public access settings turned on for this bucket, preventing granting public access. So, okay, so look at this, block public access. And this is another frustration point that I have with this. This is all kind of the same kind of font. It doesn't really indicate it's like, hey, this is something you need to look at. So there are some frustrations with this. And I think I saw a thing on Twitter the other day talking about something about the UX on AWS. But it's true. It's fun, but it's very true. I've been tired all day. Okay. So block public access. So we got to go, even though, again, as far as I know, the instructions did not say block public access. So we see right here, remember on the earlier when we did for the sheep, we had to edit this. So let's go ahead and edit it, because this is what's preventing us from making it work. So that's done. So let's go back into here and we'll see if I can still, yep, it's still saved. So now I'll save it. Okay, so it has public access. It's orange, which kind of makes you think that's bad, and it's not. It's just a warning. Hey, this is now public. FYI, are you sure you want this to be public? So orange is good in this sense. So now we're going to go back into, nope, not that one. Let's go ahead and close that. Access denied, and click on that. And yep, that's the file we wanted to see. Okay, so I want to make a note about S3 bucket. Okay. And the only reason I knew about that little trick of what works and what doesn't, and why you have to do the block public access before the bucket policy, is because I got stuck on that before, reading one set of instructions and then having to go online and look for help, and then that's what it told me to do. So that's one reason I knew how to do that. Explore versioning. So versioning is a means of keeping multiple variants of an object in the same bucket. If you're familiar with Git, Git, it's very common concept, if not the exact same. You can use versioning to preserve, retrieve, and restore every version of every object stored in your Amazon S3 bucket. With versioning, you can easily recover from both unintended user actions and application failures. So in this task, we're going to turn on versioning for the bucket and then upload a modified version of the text file that we used in the previous task. So you should be on the S3 bucket permissions tab. Okay, I am. Choose versioning. Okay, this might be something else that's updated. Or just not seeing it. It's under properties. Did I read it wrong? Okay, so properties. Choose versioning. Select enable versioning. Click save. So now we have this circle. So versioning is enabled for the entire bucket and all objects within the bucket. It cannot be enabled for individual objects. So it's basically it's all or nothing. There are also cost consideration when enabling versioning. So just basically be aware. So right click this link. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and just open it up in a new tab. Save as. Save. Am I supposed to replace it? Let me see. Okay, yeah, same name. Yeah. In the S3, choose the Overview tab. Okay, so we got versions, hide, and show. We're going to choose Upload. We're going to add the file. It's the one we just made. Hit Upload. And we're going to click on this. And we see now we have version 2. So S3 always returns the latest version of an object if a version is not otherwise specified. So we can obtain a list of available versions in the S3 Management Console. So let's click on this. And where am I at? Close the web browser tab with contents of the text file. So let's go ahead and close that. We're going to choose this. Go away. Okay, maybe I did want you. There we go. And latest version. You can see that it has the versioning right there. So we're going to click this one that's not the latest and click. Oh, I click nothing, I suppose. Just click on it. Try this again. Latest version. Did I miss something? I don't see an open. Okay, let's kind of go on and see what it says to do next. So we're bypassing 72 because I don't see where it says open. You should now see the first version of the file. Okay, so let's just go ahead and open this up. Nope. Okay, so this is new for me. So if you try to access the older version of the samples, which is what this is evidently, Well, I don't see the open button on here. Oh, I think this is where I'm supposed to be. Okay. There we go. My bad. So let's back up a little bit. Okay, so I'll go back to 70. So we're going to click on this, and then instead of that side thing that kept popping up, we're going to go to this. And we're going to select latest version, and then we're going to choose one that's not the latest version. And then there's the open button. Yep, that's the original file. So you see how easy that is to just to switch back and forth. And then this is what we was getting down in here. This is what I was trying to do earlier. However, if we try to access the older version of the sample file using the object URL link, we'll receive an access denied policy, which is what we got. This is expected because the bucket policy created in the previous task only allows permission to access to the latest version of the object. So we only want our user to be seeing the latest version, or the latest version we allow to be alive or active. In order to access a previous version of the object, you need to update the bucket policy to include the get object version permission. So below is an example of the bucket policy with the additional get object version added that allows you to access the older version of the link using the link. But we're not going to update that with this example. So just be aware this is something like the individual policies right here. Like this one is just to get the object. And this one right here is to get the object version. So we're going to choose the link for the bucket name at the top left. Okay, so let's go ahead and close this out. And bucket name, click hide show. There we go. So the view changes to show the available versions of each object and which version is the latest. Notice the sheet PNG has only, notice the sheet PNG object only has one version and the version ID is null. And then this is because the object was uploaded before versioning was enabled for this bucket. That's not that. This is something else. May have supposed to been do it on the same bucket. But let's go ahead and go to the bucket they're talking about where we had the sheep. So where was I at? Okay. Okay, I didn't have version control on this one. No. Okay. So maybe we were supposed to do it in the same bucket. I didn't. But moving on. So the reason that it had an ID of null is because the object was uploaded before version was enabled for this bucket. So also notice that you can now choose the version name link to navigate directly to the version of the object in the console. So choose show hide. And we are going to go to the sample to the left of sample text file. Okay, so here's the sample text files. Then here's all the versions of it. This might be where something's kind of changed in regards to the platform updates. The documentation may not. Go to actions, and we're going to do delete. Okay. So we're going to click show hide again. Okay. Oh, let's see. It's got me a little lost here. I'm not sure what it's doing. It's displayed again, but the most recent version is a delete marker. So it looks like I may have messed up somewhere in here. We're just going to move on. I'm not sure where I went wrong or if just the platform has changed. But we've seen how to delete files. Okay. Select the checkbox to the left of the version of the sample file. I don't see anything with a delete marker. That's what's throwing me off. Okay. Looks like I see two. Really wish that would stop popping up. Okay, we've done that. Choose the delete button. It's really annoying. I do think that somewhere around here is the platform has changed and it's just not following the instructions. Everything works out pretty well until we get to about route right here. But you see how we can see the different kind of versionings utilizing them. We saw how the object URL, sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. Basically, if it's an older version, if it's something that's already been kind of that's been versioned out, so to speak, it won't work. But you can change the version here and it will. So yeah, I think either I read it wrong, did something wrong, or that it's changed. I'm not sure. But we're going to go ahead and call it a day on that. That's S3 buckets. and how you can utilize them. They're actually very handy and very useful. I use them a lot. If you have any questions, let me know. Thank you. Let's see.